you've been hired to write for a lot of amazing IP as well.
Yeah.
And how did you come to write for Star Trek the manga? Being a huge fan of Star Trek and Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica. Like,
right.
How did this come to be?
That happened because of a gentleman named Louis Reyes, who at Comic-Con, the first year I was there, 2001, he glanced at my books, and one tactic people do when they don't want to buy your book or whatever, what do they say? Oh, you got a card?
Yeah.
So he's like, do you have a card? And I gave him my card, thinking, okay, I'll never see that guy again. And so then he contacts me a couple months later, and he was at a company, not Tokyo Pop, I think Digital Manga or something like that, and they were going to do Trigun. And he's like, so he emailed me, he said, hey, do you know how to letter? And I had lettered Mac Afro not very well, but you never say no. You say, yeah, of course. So he wanted to meet me at a bar and talk about me lettering Trigun. And so we met and kind of hit it off on a personal level. And he's like, hey, I have a band. Would you be cool if my band recorded a song for your comic Mac Afro? I'm like, yeah, sure. So would you be cool if I came out and sang it with you guys sometimes? And so it became this thing. And they actually put out a CD.
That's awesome.
That came with issue 4. And they also did a CD for Tex. They did a CD for Gone South. So it was a trilogy. And we celebrate our birthday every year, like it was just this past weekend.
Yeah.
But anyway, the Trigun thing never happened. He wound up being an editor at Tokyo Pop, and he would give me these jobs rewriting. They would get a straight translation, which is always a little rough, so I would Americanize.
Yeah.
Cyborg 009, a book called Sorcerer Hunters. There were like 3 or 4 different ones that I would just, and it was kind of brainless work. You just, I mean, these things are thick, they're about 200 pages. But you just go through, make sure everything sounds okay. And then they finally started doing original manga, and they got he was at my shop. He was at the Comic Bug, and he just mentioned, he's like, oh, yeah, we got the rights to Star Trek, the original series. I'm like, oh, dude, I've got a Star Trek story for you. And I didn't, but I said, what if, Franz Kafka, the writer, Franz Kafka,
yeah.
Metamorphosis, he wrote a book called The Trial. And The Trial is this gentleman's put on trial and has no idea what he did. They won't tell him what he did. All he knows is he's on trial, and he's going to be proven either guilty or innocent. So I was like, what if Captain Kirk was in Franz Kafka's The Trial? And he's like, oh, that's genius.
I love it.
I mean, literally, I pulled it out of my butt. So, yeah, I got to write it. They paired me up. I can't remember the artist's name, but he's fantastic.
If I'm not mistaken, it's Kanan. I think it's here on the side, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
no,
him? That's the name of the book.
Oh.
Which means something. I don't know what. We'll have to look that up, but it means something in Japanese. Nam Kim. But yeah, I mean, look at some of these cityscapes and stuff. I mean, that Klingon's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really fortunate in that.
That's absolutely gorgeous. You know, look at you can definitely tell the Star Trek with the manga. Like, it's such a cool, and it works so well together.
Yeah, it's great.
It really does. Wow.
And that's there's like 4 stories in there. Yeah, that's done.
Sure.
That's in there.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Are we doing something wrong?
Well, when he was looking at the book, he was talking towards the book, so I wasn't getting the level.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous the way it works seamlessly with the manga and Star Trek. It just works absolutely.
Yeah,
great.
I mean, that was a fun project. The next one I did wasn't so fun. That was World of Warcraft, and my story was supposed to be about this. Well, it was about this farmer who gets to go on a journey with these adventurers to storm a castle, and the crux of the story was that they were unsavory characters. Like, he always wanted to be an adventurer.
Yeah.
He was, kind of, not feeling like he's lived the full life because he's just been this farmer with a wife and kid, and he goes on this adventure. The first place they take him in the story is a brothel, and they're just morally bankrupt people.
Yeah.
And Blizzard just didn't get that. They're like, these guys aren't good guys. Like, they have to be good guys. Like, well, no, but the pitch is this, And so after I did 2 passes on it, my editor Troy did a kind of overhaul on it, like a rewrite. Troy being Troy that wrote Mac Afro, who now worked at Tokyo Pop as an editor.
That's so funny. So. It's such a funny industry because you never know where people end up, and like, you know how you're.
With that though, you know, when I was doing stuff for Lewis, I actually would recommend to Lewis. David Walker did he did a manga. I can't remember what it was, but it was cool. It was a cool one. I was like, oh, I wish I had that one to do. And Troy got a job as an editor because I, you know, introduced Troy to Lewis, and I think Troy came to one of the gigs when we were doing the Mac Afro live music thing, and so yeah, I mean, you know, we got to look out for each other in this industry, you know, and
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and now that Troy worked at Tokyo Pop and Lewis quit Tokyo Pop, I was able to, you know, get this gig, you know, because you have agents, you have people there, you know.
Yeah, of course. That's what it's all about.